Today, I'm showing you 4 brand new tools that let you put the same person in any scene from just one photo, generate infographics with text that's actually correct. Finally, rescue ridiculously blurry images and control background blur like a pro photographer. Stick around, because the future of AI image creation just got a massive upgrade, and you need to see this. Let's talk about an incredibly cool AI tool that's popped up recently. It's called InfiniteYou, and it comes from the folks at ByteDance. What makes this one stand out is its ability to take just a single picture of someone and then create all sorts of new images featuring that same person with pretty stunning accuracy. Imagine feeding it one photo, and then, using an image generator like Flux, you can conjure up pictures of that person doing practically anything. Take a look at some examples. You start with a photo of a woman, and boom. Using InfiniteYou with Flux, you can generate images of her in completely different settings and outfits, and her face stays consistent throughout. It really looks like the person in the original photo. Same goes if you use a picture of an actress. You can suddenly have images of her doing anything you can think of, and the likeness is uncanny. Need her doing yoga on the beach, giving a speech, or even wearing a wedding dress? InfiniteYou handles it, keeping that core facial identity intact across all the images. It works for male subjects too, generating images of a guy in various scenarios while maintaining his look. Now, you might be wondering about Flux, which InfiniteYou uses as its foundation. If you're new to the AI image scene, Flux is basically one of the top open source image generators available right now. It's powerful stuff. The great thing is, InfiniteYou isn't just tied to the basic Flux model. It plays nice with different versions of Flux, including custom checkpoints, and you can combine it with other popular Flux add-ons like ControlNet. This opens up a ton of creative possibilities. For instance, you could use a depth map along with an InfiniteYou face reference to create a specific 3D look, or use a pose skeleton with ControlNet plus the face reference to dictate exactly how the person is posed in the final image. You can even throw LoRa's into the mix, or other tools like O-Mini Control and IP Adapter, which helps with referencing characters or styles. Picture this. You use InfiniteYou for the face, then use IP Adapter to borrow the style from another image, and you end up with a picture that has the original person's face but in a totally different artistic style. It can even translate a real face into an anime style while still keeping a surprising resemblance, which is pretty wild to see. What's really impressive is how InfiniteYou stacks up against other methods for locking onto a face. When you compare it side by side, InfiniteYou seems much better at actually listening to your text prompts, especially when you want to change things like age. For example, if you give it a photo of a man and ask for an old man with glasses reading a book, InfiniteYou actually transforms the face into an old man, whereas other tools might struggle with that specific change. Same deal if you ask for a teen boy version or a smiling old woman gardening. InfiniteYou often nails the prompt while keeping the core likeness, which other methods might not manage as effectively. The best part? InfiniteYou is open source. The creators have already released the models on GitHub, complete with instructions on how you can download and run it yourself. There is a bit of a catch for the high-performance version right now. It needs a hefty amount of graphics card memory, around 43 gigabytes of VRAM, which most people don't have. However, the team is actively working on making it less memory hungry, so expect updates on that. Plus, since it's open source, the community will likely jump in to create more efficient versions soon. If you just want to try it out without installing anything, they also offer a free demo on Hugging Face. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, let's talk about the next tool, BizGen. You know how frustrating it can be when AI image generators mess up text, creating weird, jumbled letters? And how everyone's been hoping for an open source option that can run locally and actually get text right, especially for things like infographics or recipes? Well, guess what? Almost immediately after OpenAI showed off their latest image generator's text capabilities, this tool called BizGen popped up. And it's designed specifically to create high-quality infographics and presentation slides with text that actually makes sense. The craziest part? It's completely free, open source, and ready to use right now. Let's look at what it can do. You can ask it to create a poster, say for a business agency. While it might occasionally make a tiny spelling mistake here and there, most of the text comes out perfectly legible. Think about the time this saves. Instead of manually picking fonts, colors, finding images, arranging elements, and typing everything out in something like Canva or Photoshop, you could potentially just prompt an AI like BizGen to whip up a design in seconds. And if you don't like a specific part, the idea is you could eventually just tell the AI to tweak that bit. It handles different languages too, like Chinese, getting the characters right. There are examples like posters for a pet hotel or instructions on how to train your dog, where the text is largely accurate, even if sometimes the generated images, like some slightly odd-looking cats, aren't perfect yet. But BizGen doesn't just make single images. It can generate entire slideshows with multiple slides that all share the same consistent design and style. Imagine needing a quick presentation about minimal furniture or a business strategy. BizGen can create a set of slides, maybe 4 or more, that all have the same background, font style, and color scheme, and crucially, the text on each slide is correct and relevant. It keeps that professional, unified look across the whole presentation, which is incredibly useful. So how does it manage this? It seems to work by breaking down the task. Instead of generating the whole infographic at once, it thinks about the layout first. It maps out different sections, like where the title should go, where text blocks fit, and where images or graphic elements belong. It uses a language model to figure out the content for each section, the actual words, the right colors, appropriate icons, and then uses a smart attention system to carefully place all these pieces into the correct spots according to the layout. It even has a final step where it checks the layout and cleans up any visual glitches, like weird shadows behind text, making the final result look more polished. When you put BizGen head-to-head against other big names like DALL-E 3, Stable Diffusion 3, or Flux, specifically for creating slides and infographics with text, BizGen often comes out on top according to the comparisons shown. It seems really optimized for this particular kind of task. And again, the best news is its accessibility. The models are already available on Hugging Face, and there's a GitHub repository with all the code and instructions if you want to try running it on your own computer. It's definitely an exciting development for anyone needing to create text-heavy visuals quickly. Okay, moving on to an AI that tackles a really common problem: low-quality images. This one is called Thera, and it's designed to take those super blurry, pixelated photos and seriously sharpen them up, adding a surprising amount of detail. What's impressive is how well it works, even on images that are almost beyond recognition. Think about those times you have a photo that's just a blocky mess. Thera can often work wonders on stuff like that. We're talking extreme examples. Images so blurry you can barely tell what's going on. You feed them into Thera, and out comes something significantly sharper and clearer. It might not turn a completely pixelated blob into a perfectly crisp photo, but the improvement can be absolutely staggering. It's like the AI makes an educated guess about what details should be there based on the blurry input and then reconstructs the image. There are examples where you genuinely can't identify the object in the original blurry image, but after Thera works its magic, you get a clear picture. Seeing a super blurry building transformed into a much more detailed version really shows off its power. And when you compare Thera to other methods out there for increasing image resolution, often called super resolution, it seems to perform exceptionally well, often beating the competition in side-by-side comparisons. So, how does it pull this off? The basic idea is pretty clever. Instead of trying to upscale the entire image in one go, Thera breaks it down into smaller sections or tiles. It then uses AI to enhance and sharpen each individual tile, figuring out the details within that small area. Once all the little pieces are improved, it stitches them back together to create the final, high-resolution image. If you've ever tinkered with tools like Stable Diffusion or Comfy UI, this approach might sound familiar. It's quite similar to a technique called tile upscaling, which is known for being effective at adding detail during upscaling. The great thing is you can try Thera out pretty easily. There's a free demo available online on Hugging Face. Using it is straightforward. You just upload your blurry image, decide how much bigger you want to make it using the scaling factor, like making it 4 times larger, and you can even choose different underlying AI models called backbones. Options like EDSR are usually faster, while RDN might give slightly better quality. There's also an ensemble option you can turn on, which basically uses multiple models together to potentially boost the results even further. Playing around with these settings can give slightly different outcomes. And it's fast too. The demo usually takes only about 10 seconds to upscale an image. For those who prefer to run things on their own machines, the developers have also released the code on GitHub, complete with instructions for installation. So whether you want a quick online tool or something to integrate into your own workflow, Thera offers a powerful solution for rescuing low-quality images. Alright, let's dive into the next tool, which is seriously useful, especially if you care about the final look of your images. It's called Bokeh Diffusion. This AI isn't just generating images, it's specifically designed to give you control over the background blur, or what photographers call bokeh. If you're not familiar with that term, bokeh is that nice, soft, blurry background effect you often see in professional photos. It makes the main subject pop, gives the image a sense of depth, and just generally looks more polished. Honestly, having AI that can precisely control this effect is something many people, including myself, have been waiting for. So, how does it work? Bokeh Diffusion lets you adjust a specific bokeh value, and this changes how blurry or clear the background appears, without messing up the rest of the image. Imagine you generate a picture with a specific prompt. You can keep everything else exactly the same, the subject, the lighting, the composition, but by tweaking the bokeh value, you can dial the background blur up or down. For example, you could generate a picture of a cat, and by changing the bokeh setting from 0 to 30, you can go from a background that's perfectly sharp to one that's super smooth and blurry, while the cat itself stays consistent. Let's look at the range. The bokeh value goes from 0 to 30. Setting it to 0 gives you a background that's completely in focus, showing all the details. Think of a smoothie with a market scene behind it. At bokeh 0, that market is crystal clear. Or a close-up of a car with a city behind it. At bokeh 1, the city is still sharp. As you increase the value, the blur kicks in. A glass of wine on a table at bokeh 12 might have a slightly softer background where details start to fade. A cow on a farm at 14 gets a bit more blur. By the time you hit bokeh 18, like in a portrait of a woman in a park, the background becomes noticeably more blurred, really drawing attention to her. And you can push it even further, crank it up to 29, near the maximum, and you get a really intense blur. Imagine a man facing away on a busy street. At bokeh 29, the street scene melts into a soft, indistinct background. Same for a seashell on a beach. At bokeh 29, the sand and waves behind it become super blurry, making the shell the absolute star. This level of control is a big deal. If you compare it to other powerful generators like Flux, you'll notice Flux doesn't really give you this fine-tuned control over blur just through prompts. It often defaults to a certain level of blur. Bokeh Diffusion, however, lets you precisely choose anywhere from razor-sharp to deeply blurred backgrounds. Under the hood, it works by taking your usual text prompt but adds this special bokeh parameter you can set. It also uses something called grounded self-attention, which is a fancy way of saying it's smart enough to only change the blur level while keeping the main subject and the overall scene consistent. If you're keen to try it, there's a GitHub repository already set up. The creators mentioned they plan to release everything soon, so keep an eye out for that. It looks like a very promising tool for anyone wanting that extra layer of photographic control over their AI images. So, that's a look at 4 incredibly powerful AI tools. Let me know which one you're most excited about in the comments. All the links are down below. Thanks for watching, hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.